variety of emails and
All right. Good morning, everybody. All right. Happy to see all these smiling faces this morning. My name is Todd D. Decker. I'm the current president of the Dallas Genealogical Society. I want to officially and formally welcome you and thank you for coming. We've been doing these for a few years now, and I think the conversation and the networking is quite fantastic. This is the 2018 North Texas Society Summit, the theme being Focus on Members. We do have a special guest, Mr. David Rencher, back of the room, who will be speaking to us during the closing portion of the meeting. Once again, thank you all for being here. I would like to make a quick note. You know, events like this, as everybody in this room probably knows, don't happen by themselves. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. I do want to take a minute to thank all of the volunteers that have helped make this possible, that are going to be working through this event throughout the day. So let's take a quick second and thank all of our volunteers. All right. Well, I will turn this over to Mr. Tony Hansen and Kathleen Murray, who are co-chairs of this summit, and we will get going. Tony?
Well, good morning, everybody, and I want to echo the welcome. So as important as that was, I have something far more important to discuss with you, and that's housekeeping. So we're going to be meeting in this room all day. The restrooms, hopefully you know, are just out past the elevators there. If it really gets crowded, you can go up a floor or down a floor. Would ask that you please silence your cell phone so we can really concentrate on what's going in, and really hope my cell phone that is recording this is, yes, I did. I silenced mine, so okay, good. You should have handouts on your table with an agenda and a few pages where you can take some notes. So we do ask that you observe our policies in terms of recordings and photography. We're the only ones that get to take pictures or do audio or video recordings, and we are doing a video of this as well, help for the good library staff, an audio recording as well. I will make that available on our website just as soon as I can get the time to put that all together, hopefully within a couple of days. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to my co-chair, Kathleen Murray.
Don't use that. So I need our four speakers, our four panelists to come up, please, and I'll introduce them as they're coming up. You probably can't all see it, but they actually do have names in front of them. So we have Dickey Dixon is making his way to the panel table. He's from Angelina County, Genealogical Society. This is Shirley Rasher. She's from Erath County. This is John Wiley. He's from Grand Prairie. And this is Tony Hansen, whom you just met, from Dallas. So the way this will work, the panelists get to meet each other, is they each have 10 minutes to speak. And what I'll do is set a timer, y'all, and for 9 minutes, which will give you 1 minute to wrap up, okay? And we'll just stick to that schedule. And then when this is over, we're going to, just while you're sitting there, you've got 3 notes pages in your handout. Just reflect on what's your experience vis-a-vis what you're hearing from our panelists. Any new ideas that emerge for you, anything just that comes to your mind. And then we're going to bring the discussion back to the tables. And at your table, you'll have about 20 minutes to talk. And each table should pick what we'll call a note taker. And the note taker really should be picking up the main themes that emerge at your table, and then after 20 minutes, each note taker will come up and give us a readout from your table discussion. So that's the morning session. We've planned it so that it's hopefully more interactive than we've been able to do in some of the previous summits, because that was a large part of the feedback we got, is that people wanted to spend more time chatting with each other. So that's what we're going to do today, a lot of. So without further ado, we'll start with Dickey Dixon, and I will set my timer. Go ahead, Dickey.
Okay, thank you. I'd just like to tell you about our experience in Angelina County Genealogical Society. We have about 40 members, paid members. We have about 15 to 20 honorary members, and I'll come back to that. Our oldest member is 97. We have 4 in their 90s, and as of October 15th, our youngest member is going to be 18. We're going to give him an honorary membership, and he's going to speak for us. We have two programs each month, one at 4 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. And the reason that happened was that one of my board members rebelled and said, I don't want another heritage meeting. I want something that's more directly genealogical. So I reorganized and rescheduled my programs to accommodate her. And so we have one at 4 and we have one at 6. Now, we've been in existence since September 13th, 1968. We also have a number of special events. About 6 years ago, I started this thing called Happy Birthday Lufkin to celebrate the day that the lots were auctioned off by the railroad for Lufkin to begin. We're about in the mix of our meetings. About half of them are what I would call directly genealogical, half of them are heritage. I actually count myself as a historian and secondly a genealogist. And I really believe that history can be the back door to genealogy. And I publicize our meetings through, I'm the guy that schedules them. I schedule 44 meetings every year, and coordinate 2 genealogy conferences, and I'm the I have the oversight of the jail ministry too. So if you can find something else for me to do, let me know, okay? I publicize it through 13 newspapers. I have a radio program once a week on an AM station that's about to be simulcast on FM. I broadcast it on 2 swap shops. I do Facebook posts. We do emails to members, and I do radio PSAs on 3 different broadcasting companies. I took over Miss Erickson's column, Kissing Cousins. This is my 3rd year to do that. It's a weekly genealogical search column, and we do handouts in the meetings. Now, in our just a little background of our organization. Many of the people that started our organization are no longer there. This is our 50th year there, and their kids aren't there either. So we're sort of continually revitalizing it. I count myself halfway a salesman, you know. Sold a lot of different things in my life, but marketing genealogy in a genealogical society is different. And actually, I had some quotes I wanted to give you to encourage you, and I'm just going to read those real quick. First one is, details are how the monkeys hang in the trees. A quote from Isaac Stern is, I would like to play so well at my concerts that if someone who was disinterested, that was not disinterested, they could not help but listen. 2 quotes from one of our past presidents is, when someone comes to our meetings, they want to do genealogy. They want us to handle the business part of it. And another one from him is, what does someone get from one of our board meetings? What does someone get from being a member of the Angelina County Genealogical Society? From me, when we promote something, we should be like Sherwin-Williams, cover the earth. And another one, there's a background to this one, and that is, on the 10,000th try there was light. Optimism, pass it on. And that's a poster from the Foundation for a Better Life, and there's a story behind that. And finally, although this is a paraphrase, and I know you know this, from Winston Churchill, never give up. That's kind of a thumbnail sketch of what we do. I work just for marketing purposes. I'm the president of the Angelina County Genealogical Society. I'm the vice president of the Deep East Texas Archaeological Society, and I get the programs together for them. And I'm the program chairman for Timpson Area Genealogical and Heritage Society. So I coordinate 44 programs a year plus 3 Christmas parties, 2 genealogy conferences, and 2 in Newton and in Jasper. And those other affiliations have made me more sensitive to the heritage and genealogy. For example, in that spectrum, Timpson is very pro-heritage. Like, for example, there's someone from Tyler here. Tyler is more directly genealogical. We're about halfway in the middle. But we're working on that from genealogical point of view to be more directly genealogical. There are things like new members that we've got to work harder on. And one of my greatest fears is that someone will come to our meetings and they will not feel helped. And I think that we've had a retention rate that's not been good because we're not meeting their needs. We're not meeting their needs as they come. And one of our answers, I think, is that we're going to assign a mentor to them that will coach them and help them. So that's what I had to say, Kathleen.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay. I'm with the Grand Prairie Genealogical Society. I'm not sure how we could be much more different than your society, so I'll describe GPGS for just a moment.
Okay.
We have about 70 members. Our average attendance at our meetings is about 35 to 40 people. We meet monthly. We don't have any special interest groups. We are informally aligned with the local historical society in Grand Prairie, but not formally, though we did examine that possibility some years ago. I've been a member and an officer since 2000, and this is my first year of not being on the board. And for those of you who are permanent board members, I recommend a year off every once in a while.
Yeah.
GPGS has a Facebook presence. We have a web page. We use EasyNet sites after some struggles over the years with trying to manage our own sites. We finally decided, as a moderate-sized society whose importance and mission wasn't to manage the website, but was to learn genealogy and do it well, we decided we'd let an expert do that for us. So we contracted with EasyNet sites. And I'm just curious, how many here are using or have used EasyNet sites?
We just contracted with them.
Okay, so we've got a couple. About a couple of the issues that we were faced with, about 15 years ago, our membership started to fall, and we started looking at what in GPGS needed to change. Our assumption in the board at that time was that something had to change because our membership was falling off. And it was falling off primarily due to illness or death. In other words, we weren't getting new members. We didn't feel we had a big problem retaining the members we had. Our biggest problem was we weren't getting any fresh blood in the organization, and we needed that. So we looked at ourselves, and I think that's a very important thing your board needs to do, is to self-examine. And we came up with a few things. First, we'd had the same president for 10 years, and he was part of this solution. So we rewrote our bylaws and created a position called president-elect, and now we switch presidents every year. And now we actually, once we did that about 12 years ago, then we've churned through a number of our members as presidents, and I think that's been a healthy thing. The fellow that was president for 10 years has remained on our board most of those years, but not all of them, and very, very active in the society. Another thing we did is we looked at who we were, and we're a suburban society in a city of about 200,000 people in a metropolitan area that is, I don't know, what is it, 5 or 7 million, and said, well, we can't be Dallas Genealogical Society. We really can't be Fort Worth Genealogical Society. What can we do? So we decided over a period of time that we would be a society of active volunteers producing quality work. So we stopped hosting seminars, and we looked elsewhere for raising money. And we found a solution to raise money. It wouldn't always work in your community. It definitely works in our community. And that is that at about 10 months of the year, we host a meal in a restaurant. We advertise it to our members and to anybody who will listen. And if you come in there and you buy dinner, we get 10 or 15%, depending on the arrangements that we have with the restaurant. We exclusively do this in restaurants that are in Grand Prairie, and we currently have a budget surplus, and I won't mention what it is because I've got other board members here. They may not feel I should say the amount, but let me put it this way: it's over $5,000, and so we don't have a money-raising issue. our activities don't consume a lot of money, and I'll explain that in a moment. But by not having to focus on fundraising, we accomplish two things. First, we socialize informally, off the record, with each other at these dinners in these restaurants. We don't always, not all of us eat there at the same time, but we do get to know each other outside of the meeting room. And of course, like I say, we don't then have to spend a lot of time raising money. So what do we do with this membership of 40 to 45 active people and this treasury? Well, we decided we'd focus on some productive projects. And our number one productive project was we needed to re-inventory and photograph all the cemeteries in Grand Prairie. And we're in our 7th year of doing that. And I was at dinner the other night with the chairman of that committee, and she told me that probably we only shoot in the spring and fall, not in the middle of the winter, not in the middle of the summer. It's outdoor activity after all. But this fall session, we'll be able to wrap up our initial survey of all the cemeteries. But people continue to die. So we're going to be, as soon as we get done with the last cemetery, of course the last one we picked was the largest, and as soon as we get done with that, we'll start updating. So this database has value because it's dynamic. Cemetery, except for a few cemeteries that are closed, people are continuing to die and be buried. So we use Find a Grave as our method of publication for our work. We also put it on our website. The other project we do is called the Preservation Capture System, which was generated and created by the Texas State Genealogical Society. It's modeled to some extent after the portable records capture kits that the LDS Church does using volunteers. Ours is similar but not identical to what they do. We mount our information at the Portal to Texas History, and we've now, we just finished 2.5 years of shooting. We've shot a little over 250,000 images. Not any of them are mounted on the portal. Got an email a couple of days ago saying that they have finished the ingest process, which sounds obscene, but it's not. They've finished the ingest process of our 28,000 pages of city tax rolls, which we shot. We started shooting about 2.5 years ago. So there's a lot of progress. We ask our members to be patient. We know they're putting in, our members currently shoot in an abandoned library building 10 hours a week. There's always at least 2 people there. So in terms of membership, to kind of bring this back full circle, we feel that we've set aside the seminar as an educational tool. There's so many good seminars in the Metroplex, that we encourage our people. We publish it in our newsletter, all of the ones in the neighborhood in the Metroplex, and we encourage people to go to them. So I think what may be of value to other societies is there's value in actually narrowing your focus to what you can do well and not try to be everything to everybody. And of course, we solved our money problems. How are we retaining people? Well, I sent a questionnaire out to the 12 volunteers that are working on the preservation capture system, and I got responses from some of them, and I was surprised. I thought that their 2 hours a week of operating the camera or doing doc prep was one of the things that really kept them interested in the society, and nobody said that. They were people who were already owned a piece of the society. So they came forward and said, there's something else I can do. I'll put in 2 hours a week adding to the digital history of Grand Prairie. So I was expecting them to say, well, because my time is up?
No, you got 1 minute.
Okay. I was expecting people to say, if I didn't have this 2 hours a week contribution, I might not continue. To a person, nobody said that, except we did recruit a new member last month. She came to one of our meetings. Every meeting I get up and give a briefing on the digitization project, and the lady who runs the cemetery project gets up and gives a talk on that, always remembering that our members need to own these projects so we keep them informed on status. That's very important. She heard about it, asked me if she could volunteer. She volunteered, and then at this month's last September meeting, she joined. So that's a small population of one, but we have at least gotten one new member that way.
Very good. And next was Cheryl Ratcher,
Oh, well, see, I had to go first last time, so I thought maybe this time I'd get to go last. But that's fine. Actually, yes, I'm a member of the Fort Worth Genealogical Society because I live in the city of Fort Worth. But I'm currently serving as president of the Erath County Genealogical Society because I finally, after all these years, realized that's where most of my research is. Both of my parents are from there, all of my grandparents are there, and I've just had a lot of fun with this group. Well, we were asked to talk about meetings, new members, social media, remote members, volunteers, and beginning researchers. And actually, all of those rolled together. What was the title of our Focus on Members? And that's what all of these do. I was recently listening to an interview by Jeff Bezos, the CEO for Amazon, and he was asked, to what do you attribute your continued success? Many companies do well, but there's a challenge to maintain that level of success. And he said, well, it's focus on the customer. Many companies are so focused on their competitor that they're not continually putting their customer first. And many times they're saying, our customer comes first, but they're saying that because that's what their competitor says. Mm-hmm. So if we can focus on our customer, many of our questions would be answered. I want to talk about remote members because this is something that we've been successful with. It came to, Erath County is a rural county. We meet in Dublin, which is not the county seat, Stephenville, but the library there sponsors us, and we have a very healthy organization. We have about 40 active members, and about, I'm going to guess, a third of them are related to each other. But we've learned that the migration pattern from our county and surrounding counties, many left Erath and surrounding counties in the 20s and in the 30s due to poor crops and the Depression. Many of them went to Oklahoma, to California, Washington, and Oregon. And we now have remote members in all of those states. We also have some members in Virginia where they're part of the line that didn't come to Texas, but they're researching the collateral line that did come to Texas. I have to admit that the way we came in contact, or how they came in contact with us, was through our first Facebook group. We have over 600 members of our Facebook group, but only 30 of those are dues-paying members. Our dues-paying membership is about 75. So Facebook and social media, I see it as a necessary burden. We have to do it. It's part of the age that we live in, but it's important that we keep in mind that we not ostracize our most valuable players. John was talking about how, and also Dickey, that they have members in their 80s, and those are the stories that we want to capture, that we want to preserve. And we don't want to wait until they're gone and then say, oh, I should have asked. Well, we all know that. So let's not ostracize our members who don't use computers. Let's be sure and continue to have activities that involve them. I talk about these things about let's do this, 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 and these are goals for us. I'm not saying that we're successful in all of this, but where we have a newsletter every other month, I'm guilty. We don't always get that newsletter in the snail mail to our dozen members who, as I say, are our most valuable players. Something else about remote members, you ask yourself, well, what do we have that they need? Why do they need us? They need us because we can do research for them that they cannot do where they live. We at our library have out-of-print, rare resources that are not available elsewhere. So we purposely schedule sessions where we're doing research for those remote members. We only meet quarterly. That seems to work well for our group. But then that also affords us to stay home in February when it's cold and icy. And then when the weather's nice in March and May, we had a grave dousing or grave witching where a woman first talked to us, and then we all jumped in our cars and caravaned to the nearest cemetery, and that was great fun. We went to the Thurber Museum down on Interstate 20. We had the museum in the morning, lunch up on the hill, and then in the afternoon we went to the Thurber Cemetery, which we all live in Texas. Thurber was a mining community that represented 18 ethnicities, so their cemetery is very fascinating. So in addition to our 4 formal meetings, as what you would expect, in between we're scheduling things such as I said, a research afternoon and trying to help out our remote members. What's really fun is that 2 of our remote members, actually 3 of our remote members now have made a homage, have made a trip to Dublin. We even had a gentleman who came from Canada to visit us. But we're asked to talk about meetings as well. Make sure our meetings have a purpose. Don't have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting. Content and with advance notice. When you're putting out a notice in newspapers, because not everyone's reading Facebook, try to get it in your local newspaper. Being in a small area like we are, luckily there's the Dublin News, but I can also, actually I send an email to the area, the surrounding communities, like DeLeon, Hyco, Hamilton, Eastland, and they're good about putting our little blurb about our next meeting and the topic in their local paper as well. But I talked about frequency. It's good to have an occasional roundtable meeting where you give the members an opportunity to hear what each other have to say, to let them tell who they are, what they're researching, when they started, what their experience level is. We have a show and tell, and we have one gentleman that he just has the neatest things. I could take up my whole 10 minutes telling about the fun things that Tom Rogers brings. Also on new members, on beginning researchers, something that we're doing with our new members, and most of the organizations that I've been have done this, we have a membership form that you complete, but it's a membership form that we've tried to put a lot of thought into. Recently we added the date so that we're not getting our 2018 membership forms mixed up with our 2017 forms, but we're asking them, what are the surnames, what are the topics that you're researching, and follow up. Within 2 to 3, no more than a month, 2 to 3 weeks, contact that new member. Often we're receiving someone's membership form and their dues via mail. So when you contact them by phone, you can get a feel for what their experience level is. You can say something like, I see you're researching the Blair family. We have several members who are researching that. With your concurrence, I'll go ahead and pass your name and contact information to them. Or also on the form we list our active projects, such as we're making a list of the lost communities of the county, and it's amazing how many there are, as well as past schools and older cemeteries. So if you have those things on your new member form or renewal member form, and they've checked that, you could say, oh, I see that you've expressed an interest in the cemetery listing that we're working on, and so I'm going to ask Martha to call you on that. So immediately you're acknowledging that you received. How many of you have sometimes sent in your money or your form, and then you're thinking, well, did they receive it? So early acknowledgement, follow through. That's what works for us. Thank you.
And our last panelist is Tony Hansen, so go ahead.
Well, hello. I've been a member of our board since about 2010 in a variety of positions, most recently as president. And as Cheryl mentioned, we've been asked to kind of look at 6 different areas and provide some thoughts and some comments on our experiences, and that's what I want to do. So starting out in the area of meetings, we have 8 special interest groups that meet throughout the month. And these are primarily face-to-face meetings, although some of our leaders have started embracing the use of GoToMeeting, which is a way of being able to have people remotely view the meeting and not have to actually be there. So it's kind of spotty. It's a challenging thing for the leader of the group to do, and so we've had some success, but not as much as we would like there. We do run 3 seminars throughout the year where we charge for attendance, bringing in excellent live speakers like David Rencher, who will be here tomorrow. We are contemplating and targeting one of those in 2019 to try to add some different tracks with the idea that perhaps we're going to do some remote presenters or some virtual part of it as well, just to try to dip our toes into that water and see how well that works. So we put it off long enough that hopefully we'll be able to plan it and make it work, and we'll see how that turns out and let you know hopefully at a future event like this. We hold monthly meetings September through May. We have about 40 people on average who have attended it over the past year, and this is one area where I think we've had probably the biggest success in outreach. As we are in this meeting, we typically record the meetings and make the videos available on our website, and we've had pretty amazing feedback. I mean, for a meeting that has 40 live people, on average, I have 29 people who watch the video of the general meeting. I mean, what could be more boring than that? But they do it. Not surprisingly, the educational portion of it is a lot more interest, and we typically, again, on average over the last year, have had 84 views of the general meeting. So, 40 people there, another 80 that virtually participate watching it is a pretty good outreach and a pretty good sign that we have a hunger on the part of people who are not able to come down here to the library to attend meetings, and finding that very useful. As far as meetings go, I think our challenges are much like yours. Scheduling and finding good quality speakers on topics that are relevant is a continual challenge, and we've been lucky there. We have this year just increased our speakers budget a little bit as a way to try to hopefully entice some more people from perhaps from some further distance out to compensate for them driving and what have you. In the area of new members, we started a Bring a Friend campaign. The way this works is if you are a member of our society and you bring a non-member to a general meeting, you get a ticket for a raffle that we hold at the end of the year. And if your ticket gets drawn, then you receive a free admission to one of our seminars. And so we've had a number of people who have been encouraged to bring friends, and that's been pretty good. We've also realized that we could and should start using membership in our society as kind of a giveaway for things. So if we have an event where there's raffles and then you want to have things that you can hand out, and Patty's smiling because this is her idea, we can give away some free memberships to our society, because partly we realize that we've been good at driving our cost per membership down. And so it really doesn't cost us a lot to give a membership away, but it gets people associated with us, gets them on the mailing list, gets them getting our newsletter, and hopefully those are going to convert, at the end of the year to somebody renewing their membership. The one area where I can see in our society we're not doing as effective job is what Cheryl was described, which is engaging with people who come to our meetings for the first time or who become new members. And we really need to do a better job of reaching out and bonding with them, making them feel really welcome, trying to get some mentoring and get them attached to somebody and kind of help move their interests along. So I view that as a challenge for us. Social media-wise, we run our own website. We're fortunate to have several people with a really good skill set there. We do make good use of Facebook and Twitter for our marketing for our seminars and do pretty well on that. After last year, we were shamed into creating our own Facebook group as well. So we have a North Texas Family History Research Group, which currently has 38 members, and that's kind of getting some traction. So that was one excellent idea we took from last year. We use Google for Nonprofits as kind of our official internal society mechanization platform, which is causing some issues. And we have some people, as they come on the board, they're a little challenged by the technology, but they learn or they die, one or the other. But we make them come along, but it is a challenge. But we do have problems finding volunteers with the correct skill set, and we're looking for some more social media stuff. I think I see a lot of heads nodding there. And we're also finding it challenging to get involved in some of the more youth-oriented programs like Instagram and Snapchat and things that we don't even understand yet. So we need to, we're just not there yet. In terms of our remote members, I've already mentioned the video recordings and how popular that seems to be. Our newsletter, we've done a revamp of that. We've redesigned it, make it a little bit easier to create the newsletter. We've done a much better job of getting it out on a regular schedule. We now send it out the week before our general meeting so that people have a much better heads up of when the meeting is, who's presenting, and other pieces of news and things like that. We mail it to about 800 people, and we've found that about 40 to 45% of the people actually open the email and at least look at it, which in comparing us to other industry or other social media groups, we're actually far better and far better take rate than a typical group, so we're happy about that. As far as volunteers, we have many volunteers that help us do events like this. For those who volunteer for our 3 seminars, they volunteer to do a task, and we break it up into small bite-sized pieces. So for every task somebody volunteers for, they get, again, entered into a drawing, and at the end of the seminar, we draw one ticket out, and that person, again, gets a free seminar for an upcoming event. We also give our volunteers at the seminars the opportunity, when it works out, to have dinner with our speaker. Now, they pay for it, so we're not buying them the dinner, but it's an opportunity to kind of rub shoulders with the rich and the famous, like, again, people like David. And just a way to kind of say to them, thank you, you're really special, and we really appreciate that, and that seems to work well. We have some dedicated long-term volunteer efforts going on. We've got a very large cemetery database to be placed into the online of Dallas County records. We're indexing some McGowan funeral home records, a predominantly black-owned and black-serving funeral home from here in Dallas. Lloyd Boxtruck unfortunately passed away earlier this year, but he gave us all of his papers, and we've got a group of people that are organizing them and getting them ready to be placed into the archives here in the library. So those are good ongoing things, but we find it's hard for the new volunteers to kind of break into those. We kind of have a core group of people that are in the flow and know what they're doing, and it's hard to stick people into that thing. So our challenge is really when somebody comes to us and says, I'd really like to do something, but I don't have a lot of time and I don't know what to do. It's having that on-the-shelf thing to go, perfect, here, just for you. Take 30 minutes and you kind of get in the flow. So we need to be better at that. We're still, as I mentioned, having problems finding some volunteers for our long-term standing positions that we have in our society. And those are 2 challenges that we just have to step up to and resolve. Touching on beginning researchers, we started this genealogy research help session before every general meeting. So the hour before the meeting starts, in the area where we have our coffee and what have you set up, we have a group of volunteers that would just basically take on all questions. If you're just getting started, they'll help you figure out. You got your brick wall, we'll help you with that. And we found that to be very popular and a pretty good thing, so we like that. We want to get more involved in doing introduction to genealogy sessions and teaching things like that. We feel that's an opportunity to get more members. And so we're working internally to develop kind of a standardized training module. We want to get a PowerPoint presentation, kind of professionally organized, get all the things that we want to have covered, get notes pages, and develop a cadre of speakers so that when we have an opportunity, we can say, here's the presentation, go over this material, don't tell about your aunt and your stories, get to kind of generic things that represent the society and the state of genealogy well. This year, the Dallas Public Library is participating in the Genealogy Network of Texas event on October 19th. That's a statewide event where genealogy societies, historical societies, and libraries on one day do a real big focus on genealogy. They have some live stream video things as well that are broadcast in all of the facilities. Then they have some local events as well, and that's where we're partnering with them. So we're again going to do our genealogy research table at that event all day. Anybody that comes, we'll help them get started or solve some issues. And then we're doing some local presentations as well. Throughout the day, there are 6 local presentations on a variety of topics that are going to be given by members of our society. Our challenges, again, I think, are creating meaningful relationships with new researchers and new members of our group, and getting that Intro to Genealogy course out there in the public and doing it on a regular basis, because I think there's going to be some huge paybacks there. That's it. Thank you.
So we're a little ahead of schedule with John Wiley up here. I never thought that would happen. But we have 5 minutes, so we could move to the table, but we also could take an opportunity to, if you have some specific questions to ask the 4 of these in the next 5 minutes, we can go with that.
I've got a question of Tony. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you manage the mini tasks? That you said that you have some mini tasks that people can do.
No, I said we need them.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
I want to hear
Okay.
how you all are
we're-
managing that.
We're struggling. We've tried it like 2 or 3 years ago. The 3 or 4 mini tasks that we put out at that time were all done, but they weren't done by anybody new. They were done by busy people get things done, and they were done by people already busy in the society. So we kind of backed off a little bit.
Okay, so I do have some things that we're doing. So when we have things like a seminar where we need people to do, hand out badges or take lunch tickets or
okay.
things like that, we have an online module on our website where we can put those projects out there. People can look at them and just say, well, yeah, I'll do that one. And it describes, what it is, when it starts, how much time it takes. And so we do get a pretty good mix of people there. And we've used that tool for several other things as well. So that's one way, but it's still not as good as when somebody comes up and just says, I want to volunteer, what can I do? To be able to say, well, here's this indexing or photographing or whatever thing that would fit you. And I don't have that component.
Okay, we have one question right here. I saw your hand first.
Tell me more about the October 19th.
The October 19th event, could you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, that is something that's new for Dallas. It is the Genealogy Network of Texas, and it's an event that's, somebody tell me what organization down Central Texas has started that. It's been going on for a number of years, and the idea is that an organization like the Dallas Public Library can say, yeah, I want to take part in that. They then have the ability to receive these video streams. They'll put it up on a big screen in a room, something like this. And so, Ari Wilkins, I know, is going to be one of the speakers, and there's people from all over the state. I think Judy Russell is also going to be doing one of the sessions. So a number of, very well-known, very well-respected speakers are going to be doing broadcasts that go to all of the facilities that are participating in it. And then each local facility then has the option of doing whatever local thing they want to do. If they want to emphasize something special, whatever you want to do with your own flavor. At the same time, you can say, well, you can see Judy Russell this hour, or you can hear, Tony Hansen blabber, or you can go to our help desk, or, anything that you want to have locally. But it has been going on for a number of years. We're excited that Dallas and we are having an opportunity to do it this year for our first time, and something to look into.
Yeah, you're all welcome to come here if you don't have an opportunity in your own place. Sammy, I think you had a question, and then you, and then we'll move to the tables.
I have a question for Tony, because you mentioned doing the informal sessions before the meetings. Are they informal or are they planned? Do you have a topic that you're going to talk about, or just somebody throws something?
Okay, so the informal sessions before the meeting, those are just basically somebody sitting at a table, and talk to Patty because she does many of these, where we just put a sign up and says genealogy research help, and people just come and sit down and say, I want to, I need to, can you help me? So no, it's not planned, it's just pure ad hoc.
Or this much is DNA or this much.
Right. And the idea is if we get a really stump the expert kind of a question, we might go into the general meeting and say, Sammy had this great question, we didn't have an answer. Anybody here know anything about blah?
Okay, one more question, then we'll move to the table discussions.
EasyNet sites, would you go into that a little bit more, John?
The EasyNet sites, can you
Just Google it. Seriously, it's a fellow in Florida sold his website management business and got into genealogy and said, gee, these genealogy sites I go to are very poorly done. So he set up a template. His fees are very reasonable. Does anybody from the Grand Prairie Society here know what we pay? I'm sorry, I slept through that meeting. But I think we pay something in the range of $200 to $300 a year. There's a membership module. There's a membership wall. You can post as many databases as you want. The busy work of being a website manager is done by him, and you just buy his service. Yes, sir.
Is it just website management?
As far as I know,
It's not the type of service that does membership management.
I do not know the answer to that. His question was, do they do membership management too? And I'm sorry, I haven't personally been involved in that, so I don't know.
If you look on your table, there's a list of websites that I put out there, and one of them is Genealogy Society Webmaster Facebook group. If you join that, there's been much discussion amongst the members of there who do use the EasyNet sites. Basically, you pay this gentleman, he develops it, and he maintains it. And I think it does have a membership module. You can also go look at the winners of the Texas State Genealogical Society website competition for the last several years. Those have both been EasyNet sites too, just to give you an idea of the quality of the websites.
And who are those winners?
I don't know, and I know we were third, so it wasn't us.
Okay, let's move to the table discussions. And what you want to do now is look at each other, get to know each other if you haven't already, and if we need one person at each table to volunteer to keep some notes that you can stand up and tell us the readout from your table. There's one form on each table to record that. So just put your table number on it, somebody record some notes about the discussion, and then I'll let you have like 20 minutes to talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, 20 minutes.